In this episode, Journey, Nils Lofgren and the Faces.
1981. If you were around in 1981 and you didn't hear this album, then where were you? Because it was everywhere. Journey, Escape. Brilliant album, nice little insert there. We'll look at that later. Now, this for me has become one of those albums. You talk to people who are just that little bit older than me, who were around in sort of, let's say they were in their 20s or something, or very late teens, in like 1976 time. They will tell you that they never want to hear Hotel California by the Eagles or Rumours by Fleetwood Mac ever again, because it was everywhere. This, in some ways, is the 1981 version of those two albums, because everywhere you went, it was on. It was on the radio, it was in rock clubs, it was everywhere. That Don't Stop Believing track was so sort of different, if you like, from anything else. And everybody liked it. It didn't matter what sort of music, it didn't matter how old you were. Everybody thought it was a great song. And it was followed up on the album with a ton of others as well. Still in Love, Who's Crying Now, Keep On Running, Still There Right. All classic tracks, really, on the first side of the album. Then on the second side, you got Escape, Lay It Down, Dead or Alive, Mother, Father, Open Eyes. Maybe the second side isn't quite as strong as the first side, but this band is playing at its peak at this point, and Steve Perry is singing at his peak, well, I think he is anyway. Yeah, Journey has been around for years, but this suddenly propelled them, if you like, into the realms of sort of superstardom or whatever. And it really was one of those things where everywhere you went, everybody had a copy of this. And everywhere you go, people will be walking around with a copy of it, or they'll be going to buy one or something, and people will be, you go in, every time you went in a rock club, at some point in the night, you would hear that start of Don't Stop Believing. So, you're probably going to say to me now, so why have you sort of compared it to Rumours and Hotel California? You think it's such a good album? Let me tell you this. I think that Rumours and Hotel California are very, very, very good albums as well. They haven't been ruined for me. This one hasn't been ruined for me either, because it is such a good album. The problem is the track Don't Stop Believing has been slightly ruined by the fact that it's constantly been churned out in karaoke nights and in Britain's Got Talent, Wherever's Got Talent, and Wherever Hasn't Got Talent, all them talent shows. Everybody who thinks, I want to sing a bit of a rocky song, they pick that one. And most of them can't sing it. And it's sort of taking it away a little bit. So when you think about what else I'll play tonight, you don't think about this because you think, oh, don't stop. Then when you put it on and you hear Steve Perry singing it again, you sort of realise that none of those people that do it on them talent shows should be allowed to sing it, because it's too good a song. And really, it is a great. I mean, if you look at this now, let's say you're somebody who's getting into music a little bit later, the same way that I got into all the early 70s music, which was in the early 80s, if you like. People who are getting into music just like 10 years before then, maybe, they might look at this album and they might think, oh, Journey, that's that Don't Stop Believing. That's always on Britain's Got Talent and X Factor and all them. I'm not going to buy that. Don't be fooled by the rubbish versions that you've heard. This is a blinding album. It really is, especially side one. And when you hear the Don't Stop Believing on this, you'll instantly forget all the rubbish that you've seen from people on wannabe TV shows. So, Journey, Escape, the album that really probably pushed Journey up into the sort of stratosphere, if you like. They were a good solid band before that, but this album was the one that really kicked them on. And then you left the one that came a year or so later, and they had a nice little roll of 2 or 3 top selling albums, didn't they? But this one, 1981, you hadn't got a copy of this, then you haven't got to look in, especially with the ladies. The ladies love this album. Another reason why it reminds me of that sort of Fleetwood Mac and Hotel California type thing. It was, have you got a copy of Escape by Journey? And if you went, no, then you were frowned upon. But it was a good album. It still is a good album. It stands the test of time. So I guess it's had a reboot as well with all the extra tracks. I'm sure it's available on a quadruple CD or something with loads of outtakes or whatever that may well be of interest. But this is the original vinyl pressing, and it sounds great. Still sounds as good today as the day when I bought it. And when that piano starts at the beginning, you immediately think, oh no, it's that Don't Stop Believing track. And then you think, oh no, this is the real version of it. And it's great.
The Man in the Attic.
Hi there, and welcome once again to The Attic. Taking a look at an album that involves someone who's had a very, very long career, both solo and as a member of a couple of different bands, and that man is Nils Lofgren. Now, the first time that Nils appeared on any recordings was with Neil Young, and he played on, I think, on After the Gold Rush, and also on an album with Crazy Horse in 1970, 1971. And he'd become friends with Neil Young after Neil Young had seen him and his band Grin playing in a bar, I think, and he and the other two members of Grin, who we will mention in a moment, both they all spent time at a house that Neil Young rented in Laurel Canyon. And the album that we're going to quickly look at from Nils's career is the first one by his band Grin, and it's this, just purely called Grin. And back sleeve, now this is a very old USA pressing. Whether it was ever actually released in the UK or not, I don't know, but this is on a CBS subsidiary called Spin Dizzy. And there are only a three-piece band, Grin. It was, for this particular record, Nils Lofgren on guitar, keyboards and vocals. We have Bob Gordon on bass and vocals, and Bob Berberich on drums and vocals. All of the songs on the album were written by Nils Lofgren, and it was produced by a guy called David Briggs. The album's dedicated to Roy Buchanan, the guitar player Roy Buchanan. So there you go. So what do we get with it? Well, you can straight away hear the Neil Young influence. Now, Nils is had a sparkling long career. As we know, he's many really, really good solo albums. Now, he started in music playing the accordion, and apparently studied that from when he was 5 for a seriously classical accordion for 10 years, and then he kind of switched his attention to rock music and to the guitar and piano, and now he's primarily known, obviously, by most of us as a guitar player. And he has a very distinctive tone, very nice, very clean. He's always, as far as I'm aware, always played Strats. I did see him once, and that was on the bill with The Who at Wembley Stadium in 1979. Also on the bill were AC/DC and the Stranglers. Stranglers were dreadful, I have to say. But Nils Lofgren, probably best act of the day, because The Who at the time had Kenny Jones, and whilst they were good, it wasn't the same. But Nils Lofgren was really good, and he had his little trampoline on stage, because he was quite a gymnast as well. And that was reflected in the title of a 1985 album just called Flip. He's only a little guy, but very talented, very good singer. Those of you who know his late 70s, early 80s work will remember him being on the Algorithm Whistle Test and such quite a bit. Now, but what do we get with this Grin album? Well, you get a nice pair of Converse at the top there. But it's got a quite laid back vibe. Very nicely recorded. Guitar, bass and drums and keyboards, of which, yes, they were played by Nils. There he is as a young man, and the other members of the band there. Yeah, is it worth having? Well, I'd say yes. There's obviously a lot of a Neil Young sort of vibe to it. I can hear that straight away. Little bit of Stones in there as well, and we all remember his better known song from the 70s called Keith Don't Go, which is about Mr. Richards. But this is where we see him start his career in earnest. Grin did go on to record another album called 1+1, I think, but then he was more into his solo stuff. So yeah, a nice 12-track album. You can get a remastered CD version of it. It's got a couple of extra tracks, but I've only got the vinyl, so, and I probably bought it from the dear old record and tape exchange for the princely sum of probably 50p. And is it worth having? Well, yeah, if you like. It's very kind of reminiscent of Neil Young stuff at the time, fairly laid back. I hate using that phrase, but I can't think of anything better to say about it. But also a bit of Stones about it, definitely in the sort of vocal arrangements and the sort of almost countryish vibe that there are to some of the songs on here. There's nothing I would say that really stands out, but all in all, it's a good album, and I think, again, one of those records that, you know, you probably get a bit more from it with a couple of more listens. But yes, that nice clean guitar tone that he's well known for, and yeah, good stuff. Yeah, as I said, that slightly country edge to some of it, as you got with some of the Stones songs in the late 60s, early 70s on albums like Let It Bleed and Sticky Fingers, things like that. So there's an atmosphere of that, but it's of its time. It was released, I think, in 71, and he'd kind of used his connections with Neil Young to secure a record deal for Grin. So again, it was a great time for bands because labels would take a chance on these things. And so yes, if you like Neil Young, if you like Nils Lofgren, probably a good album to go for if you can find it. As I said, the CD remastered version would probably be better. I don't know how much you'd pay for a copy. It probably wouldn't be hugely expensive. I say I only probably paid 50p. But it's the covers, as you can see, a little bit beaten up, but the record's in good shape and plays well. So yeah, worth having. So yeah, Nils Lofgren and Grin. His first full album, as I said, he appeared on Harvest, After the Gold Rush, and also a Crazy Horse album. And he's collaborated with Crazy Horse since then. So Nils Lofgren, Grin, worth having.
Now, here's an interesting one for you. We call this the random album generator game, and for those of you who've not been around since the beginning, you might not know that what we do, what we used to do, is we used to say to people, give me some random numbers, and then we pick a shelf, and we pick that number album off the shelf. Then, after a while, we started using the random number generator because people stopped sending me numbers. So if you want to send me some numbers, I want numbers between 0 and 25 and numbers between 0 and 50. And then we'll be away to go. This has come out of the random number generator, and this is how you can tell, because I would never have picked this album out to do a review about, because for one thing, I cannot remember for the life of me where it came from, and I normally can. So this is what it is. It's The Faces featuring Rod Stewart. Now, you might well say, well, you've done a Rod Stewart album before. You've maybe, I think, done the Small Faces, maybe talked about the Faces in others, certainly covered them on blogs and things in the past. But this is a compilation. Now, I'm not a huge fan of compilations. I don't mind them sometimes, but I'm not a major fan of them. Although, if you saw my Deep Purple shelf of compilations, you'd think I was talking out the top of my hat. Even more with this one, it's one of those Pickwick ones, which was 89 pence. Now, I am 100% certain that I did not go into Woolworths and pay 89 pence for this. So, I would think this has either been left behind by somebody or donated to me by somebody, because one or two people have donated me some of their collections. I know it's definitely not one person, just she used to write a name on them. It could have come in a job lot. I don't know. I don't know where it's come from. But I do like the Faces. Now, I've got the albums, individual albums, on the hard drive that we used to use for the radio. But I haven't got them on vinyl. This is the only Faces album I've got on vinyl. And, as I say, it's a cheapo Pickwick compilation, which means the sound quality is probably not that brilliant. I had to crank it up a little bit when I listened to it earlier. And it's got a funny old track listing as well. Now, I'll tell you what it's got on. It's got Cindy, incidentally, which kicks it all off, which is fair enough, but that's from towards the end of their career, isn't it? It's not following any sort of chronological order, this. It's got On the Beach, Glad and Sorry, Maybe I'm Amazed. That's a live version of that. Shudder, Shudder, Shiver, I Feel So Good, If I'm on the Late Side, Three Button Hand Me Down, Ooh La La, Looking Out the Window, Devotion, and Had Me a Real Good Time. There's two or three of these tracks on here, I can't remember exactly which ones they are live. I know that Maybe I'm Amazed was a live version. So it's a funny little mixture. It's one or two tracks it's not got on there you'd think would be on there. It's got a nice little bit of a blurb about it on the back. But at the end of the day, it's a Pickwick 89p job, and you can see they're advertising their others on the back here. Buddy Holly, Ray Charles, Guys and Dolls, and Bob Newhart. So a bit of a mixture there. Some of the albums that came out on Pickwick were actually okay. I've got quite a few of other ones knocking about. This one, as I say, it isn't bad. It's certainly not a best of. It's called The Faces featuring Rod Stewart. Maybe they were the only tracks they give them a licence for. I don't know. But I don't know where it came from. I've listened to it today. Obviously I know some of the tracks, most of the tracks already. I've listened to it today, and it's sort of, I think, what it sort of made me think is, now I'm probably going to upset a lot of people here, or I'm probably going to get told I'm talking a load of old rubbish, but the Small Faces, yes. The early Rod Stewart solo albums, yes. The Faces, little bit hit and miss for me sometimes, and I'm just wondering if maybe Rod was saving his best songs for his solo albums. I don't know, I'm a bit mean saying that, but it could just be that this selection, if you like, doesn't run together smoothly and make for a particularly enjoyable listen. Maybe I should dig the original albums out and listen to them in the order. This I just found I kept sort of like drifting away from it and not, it hasn't got any smoothness, it hasn't got any sort of coherence or whatever you want to call it. But it was 89p. Somebody paid 89p for it, but it weren't me.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like and subscribe, as this helps the channel to grow. See you soon.